Welcome to Next Level Podcast with Camille Babin, author, speaker, and soul coach. Each week, you will hear stories, insights, and strategies on how to become your authentic self and live a life of purpose. So let's get started for the message of today. Hello and welcome to Next Level Podcast. I'm your host, Camille Babin. Today, let's talk about goals. Last week, if you listened to the message, I talked about the state of your soul, and it was really for us to assess where we are and so forth. And I briefly touched on goals because I know it's the top of the year and everybody's excited and we're all thinking about how this year is going to go. And maybe before even the year started, you were already picturing the direction of this year. You're already making plans and making decisions as to which way you want your life to be in this season, the new things that you are welcoming, the new things that you're expecting. And I've been in anticipation of this year. For some reason, I couldn't explain, but this year for me, even before it started, felt already different. It's like I had a different anticipation of what this year was bringing, of what I will see in this year, and not so much about the year. But, when you reach the end of the year and you feel like completion, you feel like this is exactly where I'm supposed to be or doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And you feel that sense of joy and excitement and anticipation. It's just like when you complete a task and you're ready for the next and you said, what's next? What's next? And you have that feeling of excitement. That's really how I felt. And I pray the same for you. But today, I felt like it was very important for us to go a little bit further into the goal setting. Again, I mentioned it last week, and I said I will come back to it. And it's probably not going to be just a one-time thing. Of course, that is something that we can continue to talk about, because I think even when we talk about goals, the first myth or the first misconception that we have is that we assume that setting goals is just a one-time event. We feel like it's at the top of the year, by the end of December or beginning of January or even end of January. That's when all our goals need to be set and all our goals need to be cleared and established. And it's like, that's it. We feel like we've written on concrete or cement and they cannot change. And the first thing I want to throw out there to tell you is your goals will change. Your goals will change and you have to be okay with it, and you have to be even flexible with it. It's not to say that you don't remain committed. It's not to say that, you just pick anything random and then 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, you just decide, I don't like it no more. I'm going to change. That's not what I mean by that. But what I'm saying is, especially if they're long-term goals, you will have to adjust, because as you see the destination or you see the end result that you want to achieve, but along the way, different things, you will be, you will be thrown curveballs and you have to adapt, you have to readjust. It's just like when you go somewhere and you set your GPS, and that's the example I was using even last week to talk about the state of our soul. But when you put on the GPS, you put in the GPS your direction, where you going, your destination. And let's say like you said, I know the road, or maybe, I have an idea, let me just go, and you go. And then there is a detour, or there's an accident, or there's a road closure. What do? You don't just say, okay, I'm still going to wait here until, because that's the route that I have to take. No, you readjust. Even when you make the wrong turn, the GPS will recalculate for you. And that's really what I mean by being flexible and knowing that your goals will change, and not change completely, but you will have to tweak it a little bit. You'll have to modify. You'll have to revisit. Anyway, this is not really where I'm going today, but I think maybe somebody needed to hear that. Before I even jump into what I want to talk about today, let me just give that definition that I found about goal setting, so at least it will be clear in your mind. Goal setting is defined as the process of taking active steps to achieve your desired outcome. Again, I say, goal setting is the process of taking active steps to achieve your desired outcome. So that let us know that there is a desired outcome, that there is an intention of being somewhere or seeing something or getting something. And because of that, there are steps that we have to line up. There are steps that we need to establish and to clearly define that will help us get where we're trying to get, or to obtain what we're trying to obtain. And maybe the next question you have for me would be, but why do we even do it, right? Because it feels like everybody's talking about my goals and hashtag goals, relationship goals, and career goals, and all these type of goals, which are great. But we need to understand, why do we even set goals? And there are many reasons, right? They said that setting goals will expand our skill set, or it can even give us a sense of direction and increase our focus or our productivity. And for some, even goal setting is also directly linked to bringing a sense of happiness and fulfillment. And although I agree with all those different things, we can even increase our knowledge. Yes, I agree with all these different things, but the main focus for me today, or maybe the burden or the charge that I feel today, that I want to release unto you, that I want to share with you, is not so much, like the why we're setting goals in that regard. It's not so much, is it important or not? I don't want to discuss or to argue the validity of setting goals, or even the importance, because I do believe it's important. But I think timing is everything. Even like we said, timing is everything. And for me personally, for the last 2 years, what I've realized, I've seen a shift. I've noticed a difference even in my own life as to the direction that my life has taken. And even reaching again, when I said that I'd reached the end of 2022 and I felt excited and in anticipation of the new year. Why? Because I felt a sense of completion. Why did that happen? Why was this possible? Because for me, waiting until end of January to set my goals allowed me to be very clear about what I wanted. It gave me I don't want to say discipline, because I needed to have discipline on my own, but it gave me time to sit and kind of come down. You know how you cool down from all the excitement and all the joy of the holidays, because we come on high from the holidays, and it's the giving season, and it's the food, and it's the family and the laughter for most people. And we see people sometimes that we haven't seen in a long time, or whatever, we just happy. And if I set my goals in that mindset, or in that time frame, then most of the time, I do it out of the hype. I do it because it's like everything is possible and anything can be done. And then I'm not really being realistic. I'm not really being in touch with where I am and what I need and what I really want. So I realized that waiting a little bit, just a few weeks, and spending more time with the Lord, just to ask him, what do you want me to do? I don't want to rush into making quick decisions. I don't want to rush into setting new goals and making resolutions and then experience the disappointment of not reaching them. So even in doing my vision boards and so forth, I make sure that I seek the Lord and I ask him to give me a blueprint, a map of where he's taking me. So when I do that, I'm certain that from the beginning, I'm going with God's plan and not my own. I'm going with the goals that he set for me and not my own. And not to say that I don't have my responsibility. Of course I do, because God will give you it gives you kind of a big vision or a big picture. But then when it comes to the small print or the fine lines, you have to fine tune those things and make them relate with it and make it in such a way that you can do those things, that you can stick with it. So it's still our responsibility. But in doing that, it gave me more time, to process and to adjust and to make sure that my perspective is right and my motives are right, which leads me to even the way we set our goals. Because again, most of the time when we set our goals, we are focused on the what. Like, what am I going to get this year? What do I want to see? What am I going to have? Or even sometimes it can be the where. Where am I going? I see myself traveling to this place, or I see myself moving to this city or to this house, or even this career, this position. Or it can be the when. We put the deadline, like, by this year, by November, by August, by March, this is what I'm going to have. I'm going to be married. I'm going to have kids. I'm going to have this job. I'm going to finish my degree. And yes, it's great because, again, one of the aspects of setting goals, there is, if you use the SMART method, there is a time component. We need to also set deadline, and I understand that. But what I want to highlight to you today is, don't make all those details the most important thing. Again, they are details. To me, the most important thing is not so much the what, the where, the when, but it's who. It's you as a person. You are the most important factor in your goal setting process. God is more concerned about who you are becoming, is more concerned about the person that you are becoming, is more concerned about the people that you are impacting, is more concerned about the people even in your circle, is more concerned about the souls that are going to be reached, is more concerned about your transformation, that is concerned about how many investments you're going to do, or how many things you're going to acquire, and how many, not to say that they don't matter. They do matter. They do help. But in the big scheme of things, it's not the biggest percentage. It's you. So I really want to focus on that. I want to focus on, like, when you set your goals, don't just see your goals outside of yourself. Don't set goals as if it wasn't for somebody to do those goals, to achieve them. It is you. So you have to take in consideration who you are. You have to take in consideration who you will become if you have those things, if you accomplish those things, if you get to those places, if you know, all these details. And I think sometimes that's why we fall short in the process or in the journey, because we fail to consider ourselves in the equation. We see the things. We see, like, I want the husband, or I want the wife, I want the child, I want the job, I want the promotion, I want the title, and all these different things. And we fail to acknowledge, but what will that require from me? Who do I need to become to see those things? And I'm sharing that prayer that I've prayed, like, in my personal time with the Lord. And even for this year, I started to declare, and I said, I call forth the version of me that is required for this year, 2023. And I want to even challenge you to pray the same, or even in your own words, but just so that we don't forget that in setting the goals, in doing those things, in making those wishes and all these different things, even drawing our vision board and all these different things, imagining our life, that we don't forget ourselves, that we also account for who we're becoming in the process, who we will, transform into, grow into, who we're maturing into. And it's very important. So that's really what, for me, make the goal setting process right. That's really what gives us the power even to stick with it, to see the results come from it. That's what make your goals setting work. That's really what help us work those goals and achieve what we want. Because when you consider who you will become, then you know already if it's even a goal worth pursuing or not. Because, like the Bible tells us, what will profit a man to gain the whole world if he loses his soul? And you can lose your soul. You may say, oh, it's not such a big deal. Yes, it is a big deal. Because why will God allow you to set goals for yourself that are meant to destroy you? Why do we even want to inflict that to ourselves every year? We set goals that God doesn't even have for us, and all they do at the end of the year is just bring disappointment. It brings condemnation. It brings guilt or even shame, because you've said all those things. Oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And at the end, you don't do it. And now you feel ashamed, and now you feel disappointed, and now you feel embarrassed and humiliated. God doesn't want that for you. And that's why I feel so passionate about it, because I'm like, there is a way to set our goals right. There is a way to set goals that will work. There is a way to do this thing differently and better. And we have to trust God, because God is setting goals, and his goals is to mature us into the person that we're supposed to become, is to mature us into our authentic selves. It's really for us to bring and to shine the light that is within. And we have to ask him what those steps are, instead of just setting goals that sometimes are in direct conflict with what God is doing and where he's taking us. And then we feel that tug of war during the year, in the middle, and with the crisis and trials and heartache that we experience that are unnecessary, if only we have yielded from the beginning. And that's why I want to urge you today that you just bring that back to the Lord and ask him to help you with that. Like when you set your goals, if you're the one that write, and I am very encouraged to write your goals, because for me, goals are not definite unless you write them down. And when you write them, put a column next to your what and your when, all those specific. When we say be specific, and it has to be measurable and attainable and all these different things. But don't forget also that to put yourself, like when you achieve those things, put next to it and think about, who am I becoming? Who do I need to reach, or who will I be able to impact at this level? Why would I need, all these different questions I think are very important. As long as you see you, and not in a selfish manner, but to understand that your goals are not more important than yourself. God doesn't want you to have a goal and lose you. So when you set those goals, don't forget about yourself. And there is also an aspect that I want to touch upon very quickly. It was based out of a scripture in Luke 14, I believe. And we usually quote it as saying, count the cost. We have to count the cost, right? And that's why I said it's important to put yourself. Why? Because you are the one that will ultimately pay the price for it. You are the one that will have to make some adjustment and make some sacrifice, even if you want to see those goals being achieved, if you want to see them manifested. And this scripture really said, I'm paraphrasing, it's not the exact the way it was originally, but he said, what person intending to build a tower does not sit first and count the cost to know if they have what's required to finish? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everybody who sees it will ridicule you. They will laugh at you. And all that, this scripture is something that I meditate on, that I'm really trying to live by. And as I'm setting my goals, as I do the things that I'm called to do, I make a conscious decision and conscious effort to list also what those things that I'm wishing for, that I'm praying for, that I'm asking God for, that I'm investing my time, my talent, my energy, my resources in. What will that cost me? And when I say cost me or cost you, I don't want you to think about just you now as an individual, but I want you to see you and the people who matter the most to you. Because in achieving your goals, you never want to lose your family. You never want to lose what matters to you if your family matters to you. You never want to lose your children. You don't want to lose your siblings or your parents, or even the deep relationships that you've built over the years, your friendships and all these different things. You don't want to lose even your integrity, your reputation, your character. All those things are very important. And when we said count the cost, or at least the way I understand it, it's really that when I set my goals, I take time also to measure. I take time also to assess what these things will, what is this thing going to cost me? What is this going to take away from me? What type of energy will I need to invest? What type of commitment do I need to invest in that thing, to make available? What room even do I need? What change do I need to make? What what is going to be disrupted or even interrupted in my life? What relationship will I need to sacrifice to obtain those goals? And all of that, after doing all of that, that's when I can decide if it's worth it or not. That's when I can decide if it's something that I want to go for with it or not. Why? Because I don't want to start something and not finish. It's easy to start, it's harder to finish. And we serve a God that not only is the Alpha, but is the Omega. So when he starts something, he completes it, he finishes it. And I want to draw just like a fine line here. Why? Because I know many of you are maybe like myself, and you call to be leaders, and you call to be pioneers and trailblazers. So yes, there are things that maybe God will ask you to start, that you will not be the finisher, right? Like just the scripture even tells us, some plant, others water, and God brings the increase. So I understand that in some cases you might just be called to start something, to initiate an idea or project, just be at the beginning phase, and you might not see the end of the project, but you will still be completed. you will still complete what God has called you to do. If your mission was just in the beginning phase or in the foundation laying process, you will still go to the end of that stage. So I want to make that very clear, that I'm not saying that everything that God asks you to start, you just have to fight and say, no, I'm going to see the end before I let that go. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, at least even in that responsibility or assignment, you will still complete it, although the entire mission will not be completed. So I just wanted to make that clear. So when we talk about finishing and making sure that not only we begin and we finish, and I think that really what leads us to the why, and this is where I want to end. The why is really what will give, it will give you the exactly what you need, the strength even to complete. It will give you the courage to complete, because when you tie your goals to a why, you tie your goals to values, because it's not just setting goals like, oh, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, or I'm going to sleep early, or I'm going to do like, I don't know, 5 push-ups, whatever it is. We can find all these different things. But don't just focus on the what or even just you, but also go a little bit further and ask yourself why. I think that's very important. Why do you want what you're asking for? What do you want? Why do you do what you're doing? Why are you even praying and asking and working on, building that company? Why are you trying to hit that, I don't know, whatever amount that you want to have in your bank account or in your savings or in your investment portfolio? Why do you want to be married by the end of the year? Why do you want to have kids? Why do you want this promotion? Why do you want this position? Why are you even getting that degree? And it's very important because, again, it all ties to our motives. It all ties, to, is it for us or is it to bring glory to the Lord? And I think the more we dig deeper, the more we go like in depth into analyzing our motives and our why in setting our goals, we can easily discern and even detach ourselves from the goals that are not right. We can easily make like a sorting through. We can really easily sort through the goals that will stick and the ones that will not, because if they're already rooted in the wrong motives, if they're already rooted, like they have the wrong values attached to them, then you already know that they are not things that are worth pursuing. You already know that this is not part even of your present, not let alone your future. So I really want to encourage you and to challenge you to go for the why. Think about, why do I want that? And think about your values. What are the things that matter to you the most? What are the things that will really make a difference, not only in your life, but in the life of the people around you, the life of the people that you are called to, the one that are called to you? How can those goals help you reach them better? How can those goals, in setting those goals, you will become who you're supposed to become, and so forth and so on. I don't want to be too long, but I thought that was very important for us to have this conversation, to share, even in the goal setting. I think it really removes the weight and removes the burden that we carry for so long, thinking that we have to perform, thinking that we need to have goals that are just so extraordinary, and goals that, when people will hear it, it will be like, wow. And at the end, we strive so much and we just put so much weight on ourselves trying to achieve those things that at the end will not even matter. Then 2 years from now or 5 years from now, you will wonder, why did I even get into this thing? Why did I even know? So before we reach that point, I want you to start before. I want you to sit where you are and already see the why. See, is it worth it? Am I going to like the person that I would become if I start that? Am I going to like it? And why do I want it? What is it going to change for real in my life? Is it going to change my character? Is it going to change the essence of who I am? And this way, it can help you set your goals properly. It can help you even be in line with what God wants, because the more you will seek to find the why and the who you will become, you will hear the heart of the Father. You will know, you will discern His will and His intent for you. You will be able to walk in sync with what He has for you. And that's my prayer for you today. I pray that you will heed to His voice. And as you search for those questions. You will search for the answers to these questions, that you will be able to hear him. You will be able to discover it's not just about finding purpose, like a general purpose for man, but it's about finding your specific assignment and mandate and commission for this hour, for this season, for this year, for this moment, that you will not miss it. It's not about doing what everybody does. It's about doing what you're called to do in this moment. And even if it's something that you've been doing for years and you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm just tired, I want something new, make sure that you're not dropping something that God still has a use for. And I feel that for someone. Make sure that in setting goals, you don't go with the hype of setting new goals, because for you, you feel like it's the old thing. I did that 2 years ago. I did that 5 years ago. I'm still doing it. And you feel like it has to change because it's a new year. And God is saying it doesn't have to change because it's a new year. It will change when it will be complete. So I pray that you endure. I pray for stamina, that God will give you the endurance that you need to complete it. Even if it looks like, oh, you're still working on that, or you're still doing that thing. I pray that you will proudly answer, yes, I am. Because until the Lord moves you out of that season, I pray that you will not move yourself out of it because you feel like it's been too long and you feel like it gets boring and there's nothing exciting about it. And I even pray that you will feel a new excitement even for the old things that God still wants you to work on. So this is my prayer for you today, and I bless you in the name of the Lord. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to Next Level Podcast. For more content, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Camille Babin. Until next time, embrace your power to become.